Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're going to be breaking down some film on Puka Nacua. I'm very excited for this video because I haven't had a chance to really just dive into Puka Nacua. A lot of the receivers I already had knowledge of before I dive into film on them. So for him, it's a little different. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So the very first play, you got to have a situation. You got a 3rd and 9. So when we talk about number one elite receivers, for one, you have to be able to win those one-on-one matchups whenever we get those one-on-one matchups. For two, you have to be able to beat the opposing team's number one corner. And in this case right here, Stephon Gilmore. Now, granted, Stephon Gilmore is getting up there in age, but nevertheless, he's still an effective corner. So you get a one-on-one matchup, and they got to have a situation of 3rd and 9. For the most part, you know that anything that they run is going to be at the sticks to try to get the first down. And you see Stephon Gilmore's playing off coverage, just kind of watching his hips, but he just did a good job in terms of his stem. That's why I always say, too, with receivers, you need to make sure that when you're coming off the line of scrimmage, regardless if it's just a free release like this or regardless if you're doing giving a move, you always want to attack the space between you and the defender, right? That allows you to sell it much better. So you see right here, he's attacking it, and then he kind of leans inside as if he's going to run an in-breaking route, and then breaks it back outside, going towards the sideline, and just kept kind of catch Stephon Gilmore flat-footed. Stafford did a good job at delivering his ball right here, and then Puka Nacua also did a good job at just being able to go up, make the catch, and get both feet in bounds before Stephon Gilmore can close the window and come push him out of bounds. So right here, you got Puka Nacua. He's lined up in a very, very tight split. He was right there next to the tight end. And if you see, there was a lot of space on the outside. So like I said, from a DB standpoint, when you're analyzing the situation, you kind of looking at that, and you saying, man, more times than not, right? Just look at the position and look at the leverage, look at the help. So if I'm a DB, more times than not on that type of route, that type of play, that type of formation, that type of split is going to be something out breaking more than in breaking, because if you break towards the inside, that's where all of my help is at. Let's get another picture at that. Look at, you got number 4 right there. You got number 21 right there, right? Now, if you break to the outside, there's nothing but space and sideline, but it's still enough space to be able to make something happen like they did right here. They kind of just ran like a little high-low concept to where if number 4 would have tried to kind of get depth on that and watching and looking at the quarterback eyes, he would have went down to the tight end. And if he goes down to the tight end, kind of similar to what he does right here, then he's going to go over the top to Puka Nacua. And it's just a simple out route. Once again, they gave him a free release, and he was just able to get to the spot. They had the pocket held up to where Stafford was able to get the ball free, and it was an easy throw and catch for a first down. So right here on this play, they send Puka Nacua in motion. So it looks like the Patriots were manned up all across the board right here. Now, they lined up and so far what we've seen, the first clip we seen, he was lined up on the outside on a much wider split. But the last 2 clips we've seen, he's been lined up in a more compressed formation and a more tighter split. And like I said, more times than not, most of the time, those routes are going to be out-breaking routes. When you see receivers lining up closer to the line, is to create space to go outside. Now, you do have exceptions, like whenever you're running bunch formations, and if you're going up against a team who likes to run a lot of man, you can try to run crossing routes from those bunch formations to try to create pick and rub routes. Or not only that, you make the defense have to be able to communicate and commit to say, okay, I got this guy, I got this guy. See, right here, they did a good job at being able to press Puka Nacua coming off the line of scrimmage. See, me, I'm an advocate for that. If you're going to be up close to the line of scrimmage, I do believe in pressing the receiver to slow down the timing. But nobody was able to pick him up. It's like you got 2 people right there, and he just kind of just floats by. So they send him on a little drag route. He pretty much just catches and runs. And then I like the contact balance right here, being able to stay on his feet for an additional 5 to 6 yards before he go out of bounds. All right, so we got a red area possession right here. And when I always talk about the red area, I always talk about the significance of it, because games are won and lost more times than not in the red area. And to me, when you get in the red area, every possession is a gotta have it. There's no such thing as, like when I talk about gotta have a situation, normally I always talk about 3rd down and 4th down, maybe. Now, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down, if the opportunity presents itself for an offense or for a defense, it's gotta have a territory, because as an offense, you want to be able to come up with points. So right here, you got a one-on-one matchup with Puka Nacua matched up on number 31. And see, from a leverage perspective, he already pretty much had the number 31 Jones beat. So you look at number 31 Jones, he's playing with his butt to the sideline. So when Puka Nacua sails as if he's finna run an in-breaking route, which technically it might have been room there behind the linebacker and kind of because he was in a trail, he was going to be in a trail position. So when you look at right here, so it was room right there, maybe if he would have ran an in-breaking route. I wish I can draw on the screen, man. Eventually, I'm going to get all that going, so just kind of bear with me. But there was room there for that route. But with his butt to the sideline, and when Puka Nacua sails the inside, right there, boom, he's already out of position. And he completely tries to turn his hips. I mean, they always say speed turning probably would have been a little better to keep you in position, because going up against NFL receivers and considering how fast and agile and quick breaking those guys are, trying to be able to flip your hips like that, it does not necessarily always work. And especially when you got a quarterback that can put the ball on the money. So right here, Stafford just throws the ball towards the kind of going out of bounds. Puka Nacua does a phenomenal job at being able to track the ball and being able to catch up with it and secure the touchdown before he goes out of bounds. Now, I will say, too, from 31, one of the things I did like, and this is going to be a teaching moment for cornerbacks, is to just never give up on a play. So I do like that right here. Obviously, the touchdown stands. But notice how when he gives up the touchdown and Puka Nacua makes that catch, he's going to come punch at the ball, even though he's already on the ground, right? Because a play doesn't stop once the ball is caught. You always want to fight all the way to the end to be able to try to disrupt the to break up the pass. And, he did a good job of just showcasing that the knowledge and the IQ to kind of know just to try to keep doing something to try to dislodge the ball potentially. Now, I want y'all to pay close to this. Now, I'm going to show y'all something. Now, y'all know how you probably were all taught that whenever offenses use motion, that is to try to identify what the defense is in. And that's true. So normally if they send a guy in motion and he follows, is man. If they don't follow and they kind of just, bump down or whatever, is zone. So notice how the Philadelphia Eagles did a good job at trying to disguise the defense that they were in. Because notice this. When they send Puka Nacua in motion against Quinyon Mitchell doesn't go all the way across the formation to follow him. They just bump down. So when they send Puka Nacua in motion from Quinyon Mitchell's side, let's take a look at that again. Quinyon Mitchell is going to bump down to where Cooper DeJean is at. Cooper DeJean is going to bump down to where Vaughn was at. Vaughn is going to bump down to where number 17 is at. And then Slade bumps out. So now he takes Puka Nacua. So that was just a little teaching lesson right there. But once again, they send him in motion. They get him matched up against Darius Slay. Obviously, Darius Slay is in off coverage. It looks like he kind of was playing with his butt to the sideline, kind of similar to the previous play that we just seen with the Patriots defender. And once again, man, he had him beat based off of leverage. And I've been noticing that a lot of the cool routes have really just been out routes. It hasn't really just been nothing super extravagant, but it's been effective. You can see he just runs a simple out route again. Now, this was a heck of a throw and a heck of a play. So Brett Favre said that the good quarterbacks can hit. No, he's like, what did he say? He's like, okay, quarterbacks can hit the door. Good quarterbacks can hit the knob. Great quarterbacks can throw through the keyhole, and this was one of those keyhole type throws. But this is also a phenomenal catch by Puka Nacua. Now, it goes back to what I was saying. He's a bigger body guy, so obviously those bigger body guys, their catch radius is just a little bit larger than the guys that's just not as long as them. It just is what it is. So he does a good job at just being able to, once again, man, track the ball, come out of his break, track the ball, get his head around, and to be able to secure the catch before he went out of bounds. Now, this is another teaching moment for a DB2, for Darius Slay. If that would have been someone else, kind of notice on the play before when I was talking about Jones, when he punched at the ball, even though Puka Nacua was had the catch secure, nothing is ever secure. We got to get that understood, right? You have to maintain complete possession of the ball as you go down to the ground. So as a DB, even if he catches it, still fight. Put your body on him. Try to punch the ball out, because those can all be things that disrupt it and make that would-be complete pass incomplete pass. But this was just phenomenal play calling and phenomenal execution by the Rams. So right here on this play, this was a gotta have it situation. This was a 4th and 1, and you see there in the condensed formation once again. Like I see that's like a trend from the Rams, that a lot of what they do and a lot of what they operate from, it comes from a condensed formation, and that's going to be an added benefit bringing Devontae Adams into the mix with him and Puka Nacua. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. But right here, they get him matched up on number 34. So I'm not quite sure if Darius Slay might have just been hurt, or if he might have been out for a play. But obviously, being observant and paying attention to detail, you notice that that's not their go-to guy in terms of their corner in a guy that have a situation. So obviously you would like to pick on him. It looks like they might have pulled Nacua in motion. I think he might have just been lined up a little bit wider originally, but it looked like they motioned him inside. Like I said, once again, man, just running those bunch formations, it causes a lot of confusion, because especially when you're running man coverage, you have to identify and say, okay, I have this guy right here, right? It causes confusion from that standpoint. And then not just that, it also creates pick routes, rub routes, defenders trying to avoid one another so they don't run into each other, and it breaks open space for receivers to be able to operate from right here once again. And then if you look at it, the corner was playing kind of with his butt to the sideline. I guess he was anticipating that it was probably going to be something breaking on it towards the inside, and he was trying to be able to, I guess, try to stay on top of it and anticipate it. But Nacua just did a good job of just kind of getting a step on him, and then after that, he just ran, and then he just did a good job of just putting him on his back and pulling him for additional yardage. Like I always say, man, what can you do on your own? The play was drawn up, beautiful play drawn up. Now it's time to execute. You got the ball in your hands with opportunity to work. What can you do? And he just drags the defender a few extra yards to maximize on that gain. So right here, they send Puka Nacua in motion again. You got another guy to have a situation, a 3rd and 6. You got them being in the red zone, getting close to the red area. Obviously, like I said, when you get down here, because you don't have a lot of room to work with, you have to be able to work in tight, confined space. So they get him matched up one-on-one with number 0. And obviously, man, this has to be against the Saints. For those who don't know, I'm a Saints fan. That's the reason why I said this. We find ourselves in everybody highlight film. But they get a one-on-one matchup. They both just kind of engage at the top of the route, like right here. You see he got his hands on Nacua as well, so I wouldn't. He was calling for a push off. I wouldn't even necessarily it was a push off because he kind of engaged. We're gonna take another look at that again. He engages with Puka Nacua, and Puka Nacua just does a good job at kind of just, fighting against it, and just, utilizing the hand fighting. Like I always say, well, like I've started saying here recently, for younger receivers, if you're watching this, use your hands for much more than just catching the ball. In situations like this, if he's trying to get hands on you, utilize your hands to knock his hands down or to just keep his hands out of position from being able to slow you down. Because like I said, if you notice, more times than not, whoever wins that hand fighting battle normally wins that situation. So if it's a receiver, more times than not, if he win the hand fight battle, he's gonna come over with the pass. It looks like too that it always throws the guy that loses off of momentum, and it creates that temporary separation right here. And once again, man, we've seen so far that he's made some phenomenal catches, and this was just another one of those. Those out routes are very hard plays, or very hard balls to throw a lot of the times, because if you're playing corners, more times if they're in a good position, they're gonna jump that route because they know one thing: more times than not, I either got safety help, I know I got the sideline, so even if you do complete it, you're going out of bounds. So, based off of where they had Nacua lined up at, they had a guy lined up on the outside, and you kind of send him in towards the inside with an in-breaking route. So now it allows him to have a little bit more space to be able to put that out route out there and prevent a defensive player from being able to drive downhill and make a play on it. So once again, man, the Saints are in the highlight film again, man. This last few plays that I've looked at has been against the Saints. So right here, they send Puka Nacua in motion again. And they just kind of sets up a wide receiver screen. Now, I was saying, or like in my head, I was saying that I think that Puka Nacua is more of a possession type receiver, but I would say more of a possession type hybrid. He's not a guy that's really going to stretch the field vertically. Most of what he does is going to be horizontally, short to intermediate, and underneath stuff. So one of the things that I've seen so far of watching him too is that his contact balance. He's real good at being able to, run through tackles. Like right here, you see they do a little simple wide receiver screen, got the lead block on Malante Taylor, and then after that, he just makes things happen. You make number 55 miss, boom. You got number 11 finna miss, boom. Well, that's Kool-Aid. And then you got Warner that eventually end up kind of knocking him out of bounds. But that's something that he does very well, is being able to, make guys miss after the catch. Obviously, he looks like a much bigger guy. So the bigger the bigger they are, the harder they are to bring down a lot of the times. And when you put that in there, mix in a little shiftiness in there with that level of physicality, then you get plays such as this one right here. All right, so we got to have a situation right here, and we just got a simple scramble drill. Obviously, what we know from Matthew Stafford, we know Stafford as a passer. We don't know Stafford as no runner. We know him from being a guy who would dissect you from the pocket, right? So right here, he does a good job at being able to roll out the pocket to extend the play. Puka Nacua just does a good job at being able to get his head back to the quarterback once he realizes that Stafford is rolling out right here. Once he sees Stafford is rolling out, he just rolls to the left with him. And Stafford just does a good job at being able to put the ball on the money to Puka Nacua while on the move. That was a perfectly thrown ball right there. That was a dart as well. He put that thing right there. Boom. And that gave Puka Nacua an opportunity to be able to gain some yards after the catch as well. So once again, we got Puka Nacua. He's lined up in a very tight split. It's kind of similar to the first play where you had him lined up and you had the tight end. So you see the tight end is right there, right next to the line. And then you got Puka Nacua kind of just lined up slightly outside of him. The tight end originally showed block and release. Now, this play right here, man, I'm not going to even get into just breaking down the play because I know I was kind of drifting in that direction. We just going to look at this catch. That's all we're going to take time to look at, man. This is one of the best catches that I have seen. Like, just look at the catch. Like, this dude did a good job at putting on his ballerina impersonation. He was able to get both feet, and not just both feet, both tippy toes in. Look at this catch, man. Both tippy toes in. I can guarantee you right now, the average receiver in the NFL, and this is the National Football League, some of the best athletes in the world, the average guy cannot make this type of catch because there's minimal room. There's no room, really. And keep in mind, look at where the defensive player is at. The defensive player is right there on top of him as well. Like, I don't think y'all understand how impressive this is, man. Like, the catches that I've seen this dude make, these are unguardable plays. There's no way you can guard where Stafford is putting his ball at and how he's adjusting to him. Like these passes, whether he's diving out of bounds, whether he's coming, making those low catches going down to the ground, whether Stafford is putting that ball is thrown out of bounds, right? That ball is going out of bounds, guaranteed. But he does a good job at being able to track it, get both of his tippy toes in, and to secure the catch to move the sticks. See, this is what I meant when I was talking about kind of just a possession receiver. That's a hybrid version of it, meaning that he's not just one-dimensional, that when he catches the ball, nothing else extravagant happens in terms of him being able to make plays after the catch. So, he's just an overall playmaker, honestly. Like I said, that most of his damage he does is short to the intermediate. So right here, obviously, you just try to create opportunities to get the ball in your playmakers' hands and let them do the rest. So they do that with a wide receiver screen. You see Cooper Kupp, he comes, boom, a nice seal-off block. They pull the offensive lineman, might have been the right tackle. They pull him to come out and get the other block. And after that, Puka Nacua just does a good job of just being able to pull away from the defense just for an easy walk-in touchdown right there. All right, man. So right here, so this is probably the first vertical attacking route we've seen down the middle. Like I said, everything else so far we've seen from breaking down film was the short to intermediate passes and the stuff that's underneath, whether it just be them getting the ball to him on wide receiver screens and just letting him make plays after that. We see a vertical release this time right here. So you see that they have a trips line. They have them lined up in trips with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. You got the DBs playing off coverage. So you got Travarius Ward playing off, and then you got Hufanga playing off. So I'm not quite sure who had who in terms of the Hufanga and the Fred Warner, because you see Fred Warner is dropping back, but then you see Hufanga right there. So I don't know if it was just miscommunication. And Puka Nacua is just able to get behind the defense. So what led to this route being able to work, just look at how he sails the out. Boom. You see, that's all you need sometimes. You don't have to see. We have the misconception of thinking that, in order for us to get the DB, he has to go all the way. Like, we got to just create an immense amount of separation. That's not necessarily the truth. And here's the thing. The higher you go up, whether you're watching this from high school to going to college or from college going to NFL, the separation is going to start to become so much more minimal just because those guys become so much smarter and so much more athletic. So a lot of the times, all you need to do is just create just enough space to give your quarterback a window to throw the ball. And that's exactly what he does right here. He just does a good job at being able to come back and attack the outside shoulder of Travarius Ward, and then just stems upfield, and Stafford just does Stafford things, put the ball right there on the money to him, and they maximize on the game. So like I said, man, we've seen him attack you from a numerous amount of formations. We've seen him attack from the trips. We've seen him attack from tight formations. We've seen him attack from semi-tight formations. We've seen him attack out of motion. We've seen him attack outside the numbers. Obviously, we've seen him attack inside the numbers. And we see that he's a physical receiver that can run through arm tackles and that can be able to make plays after the ball. Like I said, he's kind of a hybrid possession because it wasn't a lot of vertical stuff like how some of these other guys we may see. It was just him being able to just make tough catch after tough catch after tough catch after tough catch. So it's a lot to like about it, man. I'm excited to see how his growth over the next few years, and obviously bringing Devontae Adams in and having those two as a tandem is probably going to create more opportunities for him, and Devontae Adams might give him some tips to make him more of a polished route runner. So just curious to see how that's going to play out over the course of this coming up season if everybody can stay healthy. But man, if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you like these type of breakdowns, man, make sure you subscribe. Go to my playlist. It's called Rob Evaluations, and man, I got over probably like 60 some videos in that. So if you like these type of videos, man, go show my playlist some love. love. Go watch them videos, get caught up on it. Like I said, man, we subscribe. Make sure you got that notification bell turned on. That way you be notified every time I upload, because you don't want to miss it. And I'm dropping every day, like Drake said, man. I got them dropping back to back. So you don't want to miss no upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.